I played Pokemon FireRed in 2026, like a lot of people since it came out on the Switch. I was already planning to make this video, the Switch release just made it easier. Let's get to it. I decided to choose Squirtle since I just used Venusaur in Pokemon Legends ZA, and I want to use a different fire type in this playthrough. The one it is that I plan to use is likely exceedingly obvious to people. I destroy Green, as I call him in this because it's the basic option, with Sheldon, my Squirtle. Sassy nature, so Sheldon has less speed and more special defense, which I don't mind for a turtle. I collect and deliver Oak's parcel, and the journey begins. On Route 22 it takes me way too many attempts to find a Spearow, my second team member. It's seen as the better Pidgey, I used Aerodactyl in Let's Go, don't want to use legendaries in this playthrough, and don't want to wait for Dodrio. I also don't think I've used Fearow before outside of Nuzlocke. I name it Fearme. Seriously though, it's a 10% chance to find apparently, and I went way overodds to a ridiculous degree. It felt like I was shiny hunting for Mankey. I do eventually get it as a hardy nature, which is neutral. Then an old man teaches me how to catch Pokemon. Guess he saw me running from all the Mankey and missed me catching Spearow. Fearme pecks its way through Viridian Forest, despite starting at level 3, its name feels very fitting right now. Also, I always find it funny that Pikachu is sort of rare in the games it originated in. It's then up to my only level 7 Squirtle to go through Brock's gym. Thankfully, simply using Bubble gets me through. I know everyone shits on Onix, but it's deserved. Why is its attack so low? It doesn't feel fair to such a physically big and also iconic Pokemon. I know it's the first gym, but people take Geodude more seriously, and that's a rock with arms. On the bright side, Sheldon leaves the gym at level 12, I also get the running shoes. I have a battle the next route, Route 3, with my Spearow against a Pidgey, a higher level Pidgey, and Fearme gets crit, but if it wasn't for the crit, it would have won. I then have to make my way through Mount Moon. I hate Mount Moon. Not the worst cave, but I've never been a huge fan of caves in Pokemon. I think I'd like them much more in the 3D games if we got a good sized new one, as the caves in Kanto I much prefer in the Let's Go games. Although part of that's probably because you can see the Pokemon in the wild. I punish the thieving criminals known as Team Rockets. My team feels too weak to challenge Misty after getting out of the cave, so I battle Green first on Nugget Bridge. This allows Sheldon to evolve into Wartortle, a big power upgrade for me. On Route 25, just outside of Cerulean City, I catch the third team member for my team, FireRed exclusive, Oddish. I once did a grass-type hardcore Nuzlocke of Soul Silver, and Vileplume was the sole survivor of Lance, and so I'd like to use it in a regular playthrough. She's called Raffles, and she's timid. It lowers attack, but raises speed. Vileplume can work as a mixed attacker, but its best attack stat is special, so this is alright with me. Its poison moves just won't be as good as its grass ones, though future me can tell you right now, its learn set is pretty dreadful. Considering poison is only super effective against fairy and grass, it's not too concerning, and fairy doesn't even exist at this point in the franchise. I then teach her a Bullet Seed TM I found in Mount Moon. On a big TV it's much easier to find the hidden items because I can see the dark green line that's through them far easier. That's definitely a benefit of this game being on Switch. I make it to a guy called Bill's house. He's inside a Clefairy. He's transferred his mind. He's a sick man. I fix the issue. I also decide to catch an Abra, possibly for something later. I call it James. Time for Gym 2. I have a pretty good team for this. A water type resists, a grass type is super effective, and a neutral Pokemon. I use a couple rare candies on Fearme to evolve it into a Fearow. Misty Starmie is shockingly strong for this early in the game, so I give myself my best shot. Oddish destroys Staryu. I put Starmie to sleep with Sleep Powder, but it quickly wakes up and crits me. At least I landed 2 absorbs. Sheldon starts Mega Punching, and thankfully lands 3 in a row and kills it. Far less of a pain than I thought it would be. Sheldon learns Bite, which I don't know how it's been eating until now. Maybe soup. Bite would have been super helpful before the fight, but oh well. Misty gives me Water Pulse, which I immediately give to Sheldon. I walk through a house that's been broken into and defeat another Team Rocket grunt. I make it to Vermilion with no issues, grab an old rod, and get a Bite voucher. I take a ride on the SSN, beat my rival so hard I kill his Raticate, and rub a grown man's back to learn how to cut things. With the ability cut, I should do the next gym, which is blocked off via trees, but I don't have to. The game is shockingly open now that I have the ability to cut stuff. And my team right now isn't built for an electric type gym, so I'm just going to ignore this for now. I catch a Meowth and teach it cut, I get the bike in Cerulean and realise there's something else I should do before going east of Cerulean. I go through Diglett's cave and trade my Abra for Mr. Mime.
Shader, what are you doing out here?
Unfortunately, you can't rename traded Pokemon, so Mr. Mime is stuck as Mimon, but its nickname on top of its nickname is Sheeta, as I'm a fan of the YouTube channel Delicious James. All of this would probably be enough to kill a young Victorian child if I said it in front of them. If it wasn't for Delicious James, I wouldn't be using this freak. I hate it. But that channel has made me like it in an uncomfortably funny way, and I've never used it before because why would I? It's worse than Alakazam, but admittedly in this playthrough I'm not doing any trades. I also chose this freak over a potential Jolteon I was considering, mostly because I've used all the evolutions a bunch and want to try some new stuff, along with some of my classic choices. I then head east of Cerulean, which gets me an Aerial Ace TM that I teach Femi. Raffles evolves into Gloom in front of Rock Tunnel. I hate Rock Tunnel. Worst part of the game for me. I don't know how I had the patience for this place as a kid, especially since I know I got through without Flash multiple times. I get through without Flash this time too, but I know what I'm doing somewhat, and I was still pissed off. The only redeeming part is Mr. Mime completely catches up to the rest of the team, level-wise. I'm then in Lavender Town. Ooh, spooky. Then by going to the route on the left of Lavender Town, I catch my 5th team member, Growlithe, which is why I didn't pick Charizard for the game with Charizard on its box art. I call it Floof, and it's Adamant, which is plus attack, minus special attack. I don't know if that's the best nature for it. It would be for modern Pokemon games, but fire moves are all special before Gen 4. Still, I'll keep it around. He's Floof after all. I always forget which types are special and physical in Gen 3 and earlier. The way I try to remind myself is it's all the types that Eevee evolved into, plus Dragon. So it would make sense if Fairy was special if it was introduced in Gen 3 or earlier. Fire moves and Bite being my go-to Growlithe moves makes it worrying. But honestly, it's just an all-around fantastic Pokemon stat-wise that I don't think any nature could make this a terrible Pokemon. Only one team member left to catch. Guess in the comments now who you think it'll be, and reply to yourself if you guessed it right or wrong once I catch it. I teach Growlithe Dig from an earlier required TM, and continue progressing. In Celadon I buy Brick Break, and I accidentally teach it over Water Pulse and Sheldon. Damn it! I meant to click withdraw. I get some tea from an old lady. She's not all there mentally, so it might be piss, but it's not me drinking it, so who cares? So I can deal with those annoying guard roadblocks now. They happily drink the old lady's piss. Still the worst roadblock in any Pokemon game, because how is sharing a single drink with people across the country? At least the dancing guys in Gen 5 were presented as a big joke. Now I'm going to spend way too long in the game corner for TMs. Like longer than the rest of the playthrough will take. Or so I think so. Apparently, despite me thinking it could, Mr. Mime can't learn Ice Beam. So I don't need that. Thunder is available later, and so I can wait for that over Thunderbolt. So it's just Flamethrower I need so I can evolve my Arcanine without worrying about moves. I spend ages here, but I get Flamethrower. I then teach Floof Flamethrower. I buy myself a Firestone and evolve Floof into an Arcanine, and a Leaf Stone, evolving my Raffles into Vileplume. You've got to be careful with Stone Evos, as a lot of them don't get moves once the Stone is used. Outside of TMs, of course. I then go back to the game corner and decide to take on Team Rocket. I've always found these grunts low level, so I think taking them on earlier than usual makes for a nice change. I battle more trainers than I need to, as it's a very grindy area, but I don't hate it like I do Rock Tunnel. This is just repetitive. Easy levels for Arcanine. I find black glasses there, so give them to my Arcanine for its bite power. Arcanine with sunglasses would also look very cool. I take down Giovanni. His Kangaskhan definitely isn't meant to be taken on right now. I get a Self Scope. I then pass through the gates now the guards have their tea. Head to Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. If it's not clear, my focus right now is getting rid of all the roadblocks in the game. In the Pokemon Tower, I battle Green, who's visiting his dead rat. Floof going through with Bite means it's not only caught up level-wise, but is now the highest level Pokemon on my team. I then take on the Ghost, which is Marowak. Would be helpful if I hadn't deleted my water move on Sheldon, but Oh well, I guess. I've been using the rare candies I find to keep Sheldon similarly leveled. I just flamethrower the Marowak a few times. I obtain the Pokeflute, which gives me the capability to remove the last of the major roadblocks in the game, the Snorlaxes. But before doing any Snorlax stuff, I head back into the tower because I forgot you get teleported out after making it to the top. In the tower I catch my final team member, Cubone. It wants vengeance for its mother Marowak, and to keep the other Cubone safe, so I call him Vengeance. Did you guess right that Cubone would be my last team member? Part of me not being worried about levels with the lead as much is because Vengeance is only level 15 when I catch him. I teach it Brick Break and Rock Tomb, so it's got some coverage. I think Ground type is probably my favourite type, and yet never used this guy. I love Sandslash a lot, so that's my go-to ground type for LeafGreen, but this is FireRed. Unfortunately, Vengeance is timid, so he's faster but hits less hard. Not great since attack is its one decent stat, but all of my team here are the first of these Pokemon I find and catch, and he won't be any different. He'll just have to fight extra hard for Vengeance. Now all obstacles are gone other than Snorlax, which I have the item for, and I have a full team. It's time to take on Surge with my new ground type. Oh, by the way, Cubone's sprite is so cute. He bone clubs his way through Surge's gym trainers despite being a lot lower leveled, and despite me being worried about Surge, Vengeance sweeps him too. I get Shockwave, which I teach to Sheeta, so I don't have to work for Thunderbolt at the game corner. This will be great for taking down any Gyarados. Also, Lieutenant Surge was clearly very badly affected by the war, because he had me searching through trash so I could get through an electric wall. Now I head back to Celadon so I can take on that gym. I then am forced to ignore the elderly pedo. Can I see that on YouTube? The elderly Minecraft YouTuber who's staring in Erica's gym. This is grass type, so it should be easy to switch train Vengeance in here, as not only do I have a fire type and a flying type, but a lot of these are poison, so I'm covered there with Sheeta. I even switch train on Erica. It's no problem, it's a very easy badge. Not a complaint in the game, but in the anime it always frustrated me how many badges Ash got through without a proper fight, at least in Gen 1. Beating her gets me Giga Drain, a much needed move for Raffles the Vileplume, who has been stuck with Bullet Seed as its best grass type move since I got it, and that was from a TM. Just west of Celadon, I get Fly. I also go past the Snorlax that way, and just run from it. There's a second if I need one. Plus, I've used Snorlax so many times in Kanto, and used it in my first playthrough Gen 7, since it got the unique Z move. I then go down the bike path, ignoring most trainers because their levels are a lot higher than mine, especially Vengeance's level. I only run into one, and make it to Fuchsia. Going into the Safari Zone gets me Surf and some Teeth, which I give to an old man for strength. I give Strength to Floof, and Surf to Sheldon, finally getting a water-type move again. The main reason I came here so early. I catch the Snorlax on the right of Vermilion to clear that pathway. I do that, and get the return TM for Fear Me. With this, my team has pretty good moves all around now, so I go back to Saffron. Time for Silphco, which I always get lost in fighting Team Rocket, but it's a good place to even out my team's levels, highest being Fear Me at 29, and lowest being Vengeance at 22. Usually the levels here feel super low, but I have a full team and have been avoiding everyone, so they're actually pretty good levels right now. After a bunch of battling, Vengeance evolves. I then take on my rival who's way too high leveled for my team. Some of my Pokemon are more than 10 levels lower than his ace, but I pull through. Rather than looking for more grunts, I decide to take on Giovanni as I am. He's an angry man, probably the receding hairline causing his issues. I beat him easily, but poor Raffles is getting low leveled, and the next 3 gyms aren't great for us either. I head to Saffron Gym. I guess Raffles can take down some Slowpoke. I have a couple Pokemon with Bite, so they'll lead the way, or so I hoped. I just end up using a bit of everyone here. Sabrina really hurts my team, but thankfully Floof handles that terrifying Alakazam with some strength. Brawn over brains, as they say, though she did use her psychic abilities to make my mental health worse. Oh, that's what I'll tell my therapist before I'm sent to the ward. I then immediately go to Fuchsia Gym with my low level 30s. I realise one fight in that if I'm going to continue being underleveled, I should actually buy some healing items. I'm kinda sick of leaving after every couple of battles for the Pokemon Center. The gym trainers are much easier than Sabrina's, partially due to them being quite varied, and my team being varied enough to take on their teams being varied. Vengeance takes down Koga's first Pokemon, and keeps doing well, but gets self-destructed by the third Pokemon. But yeah, he did well. And then Arcanine easily flamethrowers Wheezing to death. Surge had me going through trash to not be electrocuted, and Kogar is obsessed with stealthily poisoning animals. These gym leaders need help. Beating that gym lets you use Surf outside of battle, so I head to the power plant instead of going straight to Cinnabar Island. I also teach Raffles Toxic since its moveset is very limited. I decide to catch Zapdos and some wild Pokemon while there, but also I pick up Thunder for Sheeta. That's the main reason I went there. Now time to surf to Cinnabar. It's a water route, so Raffles can finally do some stuff. I make it to the island and go through Pokemon Mansion. I get the Blizzard TM in here and teach it to Sheldon. I also get Solar Beam and a key to enter the next gym. It being a fire type gym, I have zero concerns. Blaine is known for being so easy, and he is here. Sheldon at level 35 does almost everything on its own with Surf, including taking down Arcanine with a critical hit Surf from full health. He's probably seen as the biggest pushover gym in this region, though I'd argue Gym 8 isn't much different. Bill asked me to go to an island, but I tell him no. I go straight to Viridian to take on the final gym, a ground gym, so I can cover this place easily. Cannot believe I'm still using Bullet Seed on Raffles, but Pokemon like Rhyhorn still get one shot, two shots, since it goes multiple times in one turn. I don't know. One use, but multiple hits. Only one trainer in, and Sheldon is finally fully evolved. The whole team is fully evolved now. Cool! I have no issues taking down the final gym leader, Giovanni. I'm already covered for ground types, but Nidoking and Nidoqueen being part poison type makes Giovanni even easier to beat. A huge level gap can't help the balding man. I teach Vengeance the newly obtained Earthquake TM, same power as Bone Meringue, but this has perfect accuracy, considered giving it to Sheldon, but ultimately decided against it. I then battle Green again. I'm at the point in the game where I'll be using a lot of items due to being underleveled. I stall out his Gyarados with Sheldon because it can't do much against him, and this allows me to heal everything. I land a critical Blizzard that freezes too. Not its day. His Venusaur is 20 levels higher than Femi, but I still managed to beat him. Time for Victory Road. This time I won't avoid trainers because I really should get some levels. It takes time due to tons of wild encounters, but I eventually make it to the league with high level thirsty Pokemon, and I have zero intent to grind. I sell all my unneeded TMs for much needed cash, and stock up on items for the league. The main reason I jump in despite the odds is even if I lose, that's still levels gained. Time for the journey to come to an end. First up is Lorelei. Sheldon can tank her Dugong and get her to use her full restore on it after some brick breaks. Next is Cloyster. Sheeta thunders it and Magical Leafs it to finish it. Next is Lapras, which I also thunder and even get a crit, but miss the second one. I send Vengeance out just to heal Sheldon. The combo of paralysis and confusion is awful. Sheldon does take it down though. Next is Slowbro. I toxic it with Raffles, send Sheldon back out, and start biting. Sheldon falls asleep, but Toxic finishes Slowbro. Final enemy is Jinx. Floof flamethrowers it despite love, but it full restores. But Arcanine just keeps avoiding love, a lovely kiss, and crits it with a flamethrower. Great performance by Floof here. Next is Bruno. He leads Onyx and I lead Vileplume. Giga Drain, it's dead. He sends out Hitmonchan, I send Floof to lower the attack. It gets a crit Sky Uppercut, and Floof goes down. Sheeta gets it to the red, which gets it to use its full restore. Sheeta then takes it out. Hitmonlee, so I send out Femi. Femi just barely holds on and lands a fly for good damage. I then use Sleep Powder with Raffles, revive Floof, and Bullet Seed Hitmonlee to death. Next is another Onyx, so I send Sheldon who kills it with a Surf. Last is Machamp, so I send Floof to lower its attack. I swap in Raffles, and then Floof again to lower its attack even more. Floof goes down, Raffles toxics the Machamp, and Giga Drains it. It keeps using Bulk Up, which is very scary. Raffles goes down, but now I can just stall and start reviving Pokemon. But it never even hits Vengeance, it just kinda dies. Classic Bruno. Is it too many years too late to do an Encanto joke? That's why no one talks about Bruno. Next Elite Four member is Agatha. She leads Gengar, I lead Floof to lower damage, I swap into Femi straight away and start using Aerial Ace, which completely counters all of the double team spamming it does. Also forces it to use its first full restore. Next is Golbat, so I send Floof out to lower its attack. Floof takes it down using Flamethrowers. Next is Arbok, so I send out Sheeta, which dies immediately, so I send out Floof to lower its attack. Okay, Intimidate's just a really good ability, especially on a somewhat bulky Pokemon like Arcanine. I swap to Fear straight away, it drops, so I swap back to Floof to lower its attack again. I revive Sheeta, let Floof go down, and throw Sheeta back out. Psybeam does decent damage, but not nearly enough. Now Vengeance gets it in red, with an Earthquake, and finishes it. I send out Sheldon to handle the Haunter, it gets to red, and uses its other heal. At this point, I'm using way too many items though. Final Pokemon is Gengar. I should have spent more on Hyper Potions instead of Revives. Whoops! So I'm going to use Revives on Floof too, and say it with me now, to lower this thing's attack. I have plenty of Revives left, so I kinda need to do it this way if I have any hope of winning. My Pokemon's slower, but Gengar gets to the point where it can't even kill from half health with a Sludge Bomb. I eventually get through after wasting most of my Revives. Last of the Elite Four is Lance. I am terrified. Gyarados instantly takes down Floof, which I obviously sent out for the attack. Sheeta gets it in the red with a Thunder, but it full restores, but then Sheeta crits it with a Thunder. Then Aerodactyl comes out, so I surf it with Sheldon. Vengeance finishes it off in a cooldown turn. Next is Dragonite, so I max revive Sheldon. While it outrages its way across my team, I revive my team to stall. Sheldon lands a brutal Blizzard on it, but it only does half. So back to reviving until it's confused. It hitting itself is integral. It Hyper Beams Sheeta, which gives Sheldon an opening, and it misses it, but it does land it the second time. I Blizzard the Dragonair that follows, and Lance uses another full restore. Dragonair goes down after a fight, and I Toxic the final Dragonair. I win, but the next fight is absolutely hopeless. I'm out of revives for healing my team and only have a single Hyper Potion for Sheldon. I should have just bought a few more items and fought a couple more trainers for the money to buy those items. In the final fight, my team quickly drops, but I still deal more damage than I was expecting to against his team. So I reluctantly decide I'll be going to the Sevi Islands. I definitely could have done it with more items, as I've done it with similarly leveled Pokemon in the past. Since I lose and don't have much money, I do decide to go to Beale and go to the islands. Didn't want to do this, but I need the cash. Should have done them in the first place and would have had the cash and level difference to have won that final battle. After that, and going through routes, I scrape enough money and levels together to think I have a chance to get through. I have many less revives this time, but me being decently leveled should hopefully counter that. With my second time going through the Elite Four, I won't bother you with as much detail, as I think the lower level attempts at the Elite Four made it more interesting, so I'll just summarise a bit. Lapras on Lorelei is still a pain. Bruno posed no threat. That's what happens when you have two Onyx Bruno. Agatha's second Gengar is still the worst. The sleep doesn't stop, it causes me to waste so many items. Was funny seeing her final Pokemon Haunter kill itself with Curse though. Lance is awful still, but I get through it using less items this time. I actually fully heal my team after Lance's battle, and have a few items left for the final fight, so I'm not even slightly concerned, especially since I'm higher leveled now. I lead Floof and Green leads Pidgeot. We both get each other low, so I heal. But he withdraws, so I throw in Sheldon to deal with his Rhydon, which goes down in one surf. Next is Venusaur, so I swap in Fear Me, but go down to a Solar Beam. Floof comes out, but Venusaur sets up a sunny day, so Floof takes it down easily. Next is Gyarados, I send in Raffles to Toxic it. The Toxic, and it being confused and hitting itself from Thrash, gets it into red, but it full restores, so I just chip away at it with Sheeta. Sheeta goes down, but I finish it off with Sheldon. Pidgeot is back out, which he now full restores, so I use Floof against it since it can't out-battle me. He uses another full restore on it in the red. Eventually I take it down. Absolutely a waste using full restores on his Pidgeot. Next is Alakazam, unfortunately taking down Floof, and then Vengeance. Vengeance can't even take one hit. Fear Me manages to take it down, but has a Future Sight on its head. Last is Arcanine. I revive Sheldon, Sheldon goes in, I revive Floof, Future Sight kills Sheldon, Floof goes in, and say it with me kids, lowers its attack. I revive Sheldon, I full restore Sheldon, 2 surfs later, I've won! I am the champion! I love making these fights as chaotic as possible, barely scraping by. Makes it feel good when I actually win. My team goes in the Hall of Fame. I feel like I'm more likely to remember this team over most of my FireRed and LeafGreen teams since I'm making this video. Sure, some members proved more helpful than others, but every team member did something at some point. I also played through LeafGreen, so here's the team I used for that. But that's this journey over. Hopefully people like this video, as I would like to do each region on my channel eventually, and use teams with at least some team members I've either not used or I barely used. That's all. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, using hype points, and sharing. Anything of those that you can do helps out my little channel massively. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, bye I guess.